Hello and welcome to the channel. So another repair today, and this is an Ampeg Rocket Reverb. Just having a look at this. This is in for a check over, see what it needs. It's this is an amp from the shop that I do a lot of work for. We just have a look in the top of it, or at the top of it. You can see Reverberocket, guitar, accordion and mic. We've got volume, tone, dimension on that, not sure what that's about. And then we've got speed and intensity. Not had one of these on the bench before. They're a bit of a rare old thing. Let's have a look at the back. There we go, not much to see at the back. Some very strange looking screws there on the back panel, which we need to have a look at. We'll get the back off it. I can see a groggy old capacitor there, and I can see some JJ tubes, or one JJ tube in there. There's a foot switch in the bottom. Let's get the back off and have a smooch. So we're just in the back looking at the components and stuff. The first thing I see is this capacitor is split on the Bakelite little board that it's got. I really don't like these capacitors, and this has obviously been in it from new. 60 microfarad, 40, 40 and a 25. Yes, if we can find one of those it would be good, but if we could, I guess it has a severe whiff of expensive about it. But something needs to be done with that. That is not safe. So we've got capacitor change here. Looks like it was changed a long time ago. We've got a very burnt and crusty looking resistor there. But we've got a nice spray capacitor there that's been changed. A couple of orange drops been changed there. But then we've got all of these that are still original, never been changed. That one's on the tone stack, so it's probably okay. And we've got more here, some more orange drops there that's replaced the original caps, so that's good. We've got a very old and dodgy looking cap there. Bit of a rusty pot, nothing we can't clean up. So let's just look at the tubes then. So we've got 5Y3 here that feels like it's been mounted in grease, so that socket will need to be cleaned out. Got a couple of 7591s in there. I'm not going to pull that one out because it's too close to the cone on the speaker. I should just break it. That is a 6SL7 Jan Phillips there, so it's got some good tubes in. Same again, and we've got one of the original Ampeg tubes there. So that's nice, and that's a 6SN7. And then we've got another Jan Phillips there, and that is a 6188 in there. Let's just pull back and have a look at the speaker, and you can see we've got a very, very nice Jenson C12R there. Not sure about the date codes on this. Right, so we'll get in on that date code. You can see there, I can't quite get in with the camera, so it's upside down, if you can see that. And then we've got another code over here, so get in, you can have a look at that. Right, I've got this stood up now, and we're looking at this capacitor, this can cap, and can you see all the silicon on there that's been botched in? If we look in there now, I've got the macro lens on, so you can see. Dear, oh dear, oh dear, that's disgusting. It really is. Especially on an amp of this caliber. So that's something we need to sort out. Definitely that can't be left like that. It is not safe. Right, so check the fuses. Another 13 amp fuse to my collection. I put a 3 amp in the plug. We've got 2.5 amp in there. It should be 2. That'll be okay because we're going to power this amp up, so that'll be okay for the time being, but we'll change that to a 2 amp. I'm just having a look in here, and with this light, just looking at some of the stuff that's been done in here. Now, a lot of you in the States have probably seen loads of these, and you know so much more about them than I do. I'm trying to familiarise myself with this amp. It's not one I've seen before. So this is obviously, this has been changed. We need to find out where that goes. Is it an addition? I looked on the can, all the parts of that capacitor seem to be connected up there. We've got some orange drops added here. I don't think they're original, looking at they've been changed, which is good. A couple of sprays there, so that's good, they've been changed. Just looking at that wiring, that soldering though is a bit rough. We'll just have to, maybe, I don't want anyone thinking that's my work. Orange drops here on this side, you can see if we just go in, so someone's changed those, so that's good as well. So the camera still, sorry. We've got a capacitor here, you can see this, got a capacitor here that is 20 microfarads at 450 volts, so we need to see what he's doing. And I'm just looking at that wire there on that capacitor. Has that been burnt with the iron? Yes, it has, and that is bare. So what we're going to do now is just power this amp up on the current limiter, check the fuses, and we're just going to see if this amp runs, and I'm going to have a test round, try and fathom out what caps do what, because this here has got to be changed somehow. That can't be left like that now. It's broken, it's gone way too far to be. I can't even see a way of repairing it now. That Bakelite wafer thing that it's mounted to has just split. And then how old is it, you know? Just give me a minute. Right, so looking at the can again. So the problem with this is replacing it, because it's got 1, 2, 3, 4 sections. Now I can only find a capacitor online, which is on Michael's website, Modulus, and it's got 3 sections in it. That's £57. But finding one with 4, now one of these, and probably is, this 25 microfarad at 25 volts, is probably the bypass cap. Well, obviously caps are much smaller these days, so we could mount that, you know, somewhere in the amp, where the cathodes, on the output tube somewhere from the cathodes there. But we could also use this, because the wafer has got 2 bolts going through it, and they look about the same diameter as these, but I don't know whether we could get that over that lip on there we've got. So I'm just looking at options at the moment. Normally that cap would be, I wouldn't even be thinking about doing this, that capacitor would be out, but it's whether we can replace it, and that would that work? So that's an option of keeping it. I'd rather not. So just looking at some of the things that's gone on here. So we've got this wire here looped over. Look at the soldering on there. Dear oh dear. Could win some prizes with that. There. So I'm not sure what's going on with that, but they've definitely been added. And if we look at this one, you see the strands of wire coming off. That's just been wrapped round. That's really botch. That's all been burnt there as well. Right, we've got this amp plugged in. We're going to switch on. I've took the output tubes out because I'm not sure whether they're wired up properly on there. So if we just look up there, you can see we're getting some plate volts coming through, and obviously it'll be quite high because there's no output tubes in there. Right, I'm just going to go so I've got 278 volts on there, on that looped wire. We're looking there. I've got 278 volts. So that is the screen. And that is pin 8. So let me just go and check that again on the schematic. Right, I've just had a look at the pin out. Pin 4 and pin 6, I bet you're all shouting at the camera going, you div. Pins 4 and pin 6 are grid 2 on there. So I don't know why they've wired that, looped that over like that, I'm sure. But, and they certainly don't need to be like that. You don't have to wire them both up. They're wired together internally in the tube. So not sure what they were doing there, and that's what's confused me really. I'm thinking, I'd looked at the pin out and it looked like pin 5 was connected to pin 8, but I've actually blown up the image. It's one of the JJ pin outs on the website. I've just blown it up and I could see then that it wasn't. So I've got the tubes in. We haven't got a lot of, they can just hear them. Just hear the amp coming up now because I've got the current limiter on and I've got a 60 watt bell in there. Let's go back on there for some voltage. There we go. You see we've got 180 volts. So it runs, it's pretty quiet so far. Let's give it another 100 watts of bulbs, madam. A bit of squealing going on. Oh dear. There we go, there's nothing wrong with that, is there? Word. It's like doing an early morning shift at McDonald's. Flying away. Wow, that's some oscillation. even my pathetic ears can pick that up. Tone control works. So it's when you turn that dimension up that things get a bit oscilly. It's about the tremolo. You may need the foot switch for that. Oh, the tremolo does work. Yes, well there we go then. So that's all fixed. That was just £360, please madam. Just turn the controls down. Oh, caps are quiet. Right, let's just put another 100 watts of bulbs. We've got 200 watts now. Remove the 60 watt, bring it up a bit more. So let's have a look. The plate volts are now up to 305 volts. Reverberated flying. This is a really well built amp though when you actually look at it. You know, it's got a lovely ply cabinet, lovely covering, really nice amps. It's just, this one's just in a bit of a bad state. But then, you know, it is from the early 1960s. I think these are from about 63, correct me if I'm wrong. Lovely Jenson speaker in it as well down there. We've looked at that earlier. That's so, yeah, it's a nice bit of kit. It's just in a bit of a state. My days. So it looks like we're going to need some plate resistors. And that oscillation. Just drop the scope, just connect it to the speaker. That's on the dimension control. Look at that. There's a frequency there, so that's about 4. That's all over the place, but 4 kilohertz, something like that. It's actually not just the frequency, it's actually pulsing as well. So yes, that's looking very sick, isn't it, on there, as we can see. Let's just flick it off the current limiter. Wow. Well, guitar, accordion and mic work okay, so let's get a bit of guitar through it. That sounds rather nice. Supposed to be repairing this, and here I am just playing the guitar through it, having a ball. Let's try the vibrato. Something like that. A bit rusty at that. Yep, that's a really nice sounding amplifier. Considering the fact that we've got it facing the wrong way as well. Yeah, that's really nice. So, sounds okay. Well, sounds fantastic. Beautiful amplifier. A lot of frying to sort out. Some caps to change, because you can't really leave that in. Although you know, none of them appear to be noisy. You know, they're not leaky or anything. But having said that, we've not tested them yet. But they appear to be okay. If you turn the volume down, the amp's silent. So I think what we'll do now is we'll check some of these coupling capacitors and just see if how many of those are leaky. Right, so that humming is just the lights again, but I think if I have a cunning plan. There we go. So let's see if we've got any leaking capacitors at all. So we'll start at this end. Hang on a minute. So you've got 145 on that side. Let's just flick the limiter off a minute. And you can see there we've so seems okay. What we got on this one? 58 volts on that side. And that one seems okay. 113 on there. He's a lumberjack and he's okay. 140 volts on that one. Well, there we go. What about this one? Let's just turn the volume down because of that speaker. Oh well. Ha! Turn all the volumes down. That's 140. Nope, that's fine. 225 on that one. No. .4 there. Mute. What I got on that one? $209. No. And that's all of them. Let's try one of the orange drops. 210. No, we didn't expect those to be leaking. Just being sarcastic there. Well, there we go. So after that test, we have a grand score of 0 points. Nothing is leaking in there. Should I leave those? I don't see any reason to change them, but and obviously whoever's been in here has tested them and saw no reason to change them either, just change the ones that needed doing. So I'm guessing maybe these three here are the tremolo caps, I don't know. I think they are. I think they're the coupling caps. They got voltage on there. Not on there. Yeah, 272. Where's that going down to a resistor there? No, sorry, not there. Ooh, gooey. That gooey mess. Can't even see that I've lost that wire in the. But 210. Oh, I don't know then. Maybe they are the tremolo caps. I'll have to look on the schematic what they are. It's no good keep speculating, is it? But what we don't have on this amp is screen resistors. No screen resistors. None that I can see anyway at a glance. They're certainly not on the tube sockets, although we've got some 1Ks there, but I think they're on the grid. Pin 5, no, pin 5's not the grid on here, can't remember which is now. Different pin out, not used to these tubes, but anyway, I'm presuming that they're on the grid. Right, so given that assessment, right, we'll switch off. And you can see there what I put over the tubes there, just a packet of fuses, and they worked splendiferously. So let's just have a bit of a recap then on this amp and see where we are with it. So we've got a very old capacitor here that's running absolutely fine. All the tubes seem okay. This capacitor here, we can see, we just back it out a little. Back off there now. This capacitor here, we can see obviously something needs to be done with that. So here's the deal with this then. There's 4 sections in that capacitor, I think. So one of those is only 25 volts, so I'm guessing that is the bypass capacitor for the output tubes, but I'm only speculating. So assuming that's the case, some of you in the States have already, know loads more about these amps than I do. We'll know whether that's the case. I've got to just trace the wires through and check it all out. So do we leave this can cap and fit this bracket and get this amp, because that looks like those holes will line up, and just secure that, make it safe, tidy up the soldering and remove all of that silicon that's been botched on there? Or do we just buy a 3-section can, if we can find one, put the bypass capacitor up here, and do need to get a schematic, but there's a 220R resistor there. I don't know whether that's the bypass, whether that's the cathode resistor or not. I have to have a bit of a test and see. So do we get a new cap, or do we leave this one? It's absolutely fine, and try and preserve the amp's originality. That we need to change the plate resistors because of all that frying. They've got to be changed. There's no question. We need to track that frying down. It's terrible. And then we've got that oscillation on the reverb, which is quite nasty. So we need to track that down as well. So quite a few things to do. We need to find out what this cap's doing here as well, because this to me seems to be an addition. Was there another cap there before? Has one section of this. It looks to me like they're all wired up at a glance though, but I'm going to have to really go in and have a real look at that. We've got some bad soldering on these sockets which we need to sort out, and we don't need those loop wires over there. I'm sure we don't. According to the pin art, those 2 pins are internally wired. I'll have to check it again and make sure. It seems strange that they've been put on there, but at the end of the day, whether they should be there or not, if they're not, then they need to be cut off, and if they are, they just they just need to be done properly, because the soldering on those bases is dreadful, absolutely dreadful. We've got a bare wire here from the insulation that we looked at. We need to, but we're probably going to change this cap. It is a wax capacitor, and it does, although it seems to be working okay, I think that needs to go. And we've got here and here a couple of bypass capacitors. Yeah, that's 1K, so I bet that's a bypass capacitor, and that one, so we might as well just ferret those out. Got a lot of wax on this board and things. Presume that's been done at the factory, I don't know. Again, tell me in the comments. You all know far more about these amps than I do. We'll test the tubes and make sure they're okay. I'm guessing the output tubes will be okay. It's just these octal tubes. 7591s. Give me your opinion on what you think of the JJs. Keep it clean though. Remember, no bad language in the comments. Power cable is secure. It's a bit grab it though, but it's secure. It's also a rubber cable. Is that beginning to break? Let me just make sure the plug's out before I start. Is that beginning to break the... Oops, sorry, you can't see, can you? Remove the camera. Across. It's just wax. Or shellac or something of that nature. That seems okay. Not brilliant, but it's okay. It's thereabouts. It's not, the rubber's not breaking down. Let's just check the ground. Ground's on. Grounded off the transformer lug, but bolt on the transformer there, but that's been done from the factory. And this is the thing, you know, with these amps, you open them up and you can go on forever more. You know, you technically, you know, it shouldn't be grounded on there technically, but you know, you can get to the point. So then next thing, you're drilling a hole in the side of the chassis and you're putting a new ground on, and then you're putting a new power cable on it, and you just, you know, yeah, in an ideal world, but obviously from the customer's perspective, if the cable's okay and it's safe, then he probably doesn't want it changing. So there we are. That's the assessment on this Ampeg Rocket Reverb, or Reverberocket. And the reverb is certainly rocketing at the moment with that oscillation, but I do like this amp. It sounds fantastic, and it just looks as cool as. And obviously I've watched videos of these amps, and I've seen, you know, pictures of them and so on, but having one actually on my bench is really good. This is a really nice amplifier. If this was my amplifier, it would be a keeper, and if it was mine, then what I would do is I would just absolutely go to town on this amp, full tilt. But it's not mine, so this amp is actually in because it's going to be going up for sale soon, and I've got to make sure that it's safe and you know, it runs properly. So that'll do it for this one. Bit of a strange video, really, I suppose, in some ways. So thanks for watching. You all take good care, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye bye for now.